In the year 1928, a mountaineer was trapped in a terrible snowstorm on the Karakoram mountain, located in the Kashmir region of India. Because of the snowstorm, there was complete darkness all around. Then, the mountaineer saw a bright light on a hill not far from his tent. Seeing the light, he braved the violent storm and started walking toward it. After a lot of effort, when the mountaineer reached the spot, he found a shiny, round object there. Curious, he broke the object with his spade and saw a bright light coming out of it. The light was so intense that the mountaineer fainted on the spot. After some time, when he regained consciousness, the shiny object had disappeared. He looked around but couldn't find it anywhere. Then he felt something on his hand. There was a strange mark on it. Seeing the mark, the mountaineer went into deep thought. He couldn't understand what that thing was. And with that, the story shifts to the present day, where we meet Helen Benson, a renowned professor of astrobiology. Helen is a widow, and she lives with her stepson, Jacob. She had just returned home after finishing a lecture at the university when she received a call from an unknown person. The caller told Helen that someone would soon knock on her door. Helen, surprised, asked who he was and what he wanted from her, but the caller didn't answer any of her questions. Instead, he told her she would get all the answers along the way. Helen couldn't understand what was going on, but then she heard someone knocking at her door. When she opened it, she saw several police cars parked outside. A man in a suit told Helen to quietly come with him without asking any questions. Confused and hesitant, Helen handed over the responsibility of her son Jacob to her neighbor and went with the police. She had no choice but to go. Even in the police van, Helen asked the officer where they were taking her, but he also said she would get all the answers once they arrived. After she insisted multiple times, the officer finally told her that there was a national emergency, and they needed her to discuss it. They brought Helen to a military base and put her on a plane, where several other famous scientists from different fields were already seated. No one knew where they were being taken or why. The plane flew them to a military academy. As soon as they landed, everyone was strictly told that cell phones and cameras were not allowed inside. However, Helen secretly kept her phone with her to stay in touch with her son. There, Helen met her old friend Michael, who was a scientist at NASA. In fact, it was Michael who had called all the scientists there, especially Helen. He took her to the conference room, where other scientists were also present. Michael then informed everyone about a devastating threat heading toward Earth. He said that recently, people working on his Space Guardian program had spotted a strange object in Jupiter's orbit. There are many objects moving in space, but this one caught the scientists' attention because its rotation speed was quite different from the others. While most objects move in circular orbits, this one was moving in a hyperbolic orbit, as if it had been launched from one point toward another. It was heading toward Earth at a speed of 30,000 kilometers per second. Considering its speed, scientists estimated that it would collide with Manhattan, a city in America, within the next 78 minutes. The impact would be so massive that the entire city would be destroyed. Hearing this, all the scientists present began to sweat in fear, especially since Manhattan was close to their location. According to the scientists, even launching a missile wouldn't be enough to stop an object moving at such a high speed. The government had to keep everything confidential. It was important to maintain peace and avoid spreading panic throughout the country. That's why all mobile phones and cameras were confiscated from the scientists before they entered the conference room. But Helen had secretly kept her phone. She went to the bathroom and called Jacob, asking him to hide in the basement. Although Jacob was not taking her words seriously, Helen wanted to talk to him a bit more, not knowing if she'd be able to speak with him again. However, Jacob disconnected the call. Even though Helen was Jacob's stepmother, she had always loved him like her own son. But Jacob's feelings toward Helen were completely different. He never accepted her as his mother. Just then, someone knocked on the bathroom door. A female officer had caught Helen using her phone. The officer confiscated the phone, but knowing what was about to happen next, tears came to her eyes. Then, all the scientists were taken near the site where the object was expected to hit. Only a few seconds were left before impact. Seeing this, a scientist said that if the object hits Earth at 30,000 kilometers per second, which is 1/10 the speed of light, then all living beings on the planet would be wiped out. So the government should try launching a missile to stop it. But then an officer standing nearby said they couldn't do that because someone had deactivated all their missiles. Meanwhile, only 6 seconds remained. Everyone braced themselves for death. But just as the object neared Earth, its speed suddenly slowed down. All the scientists were shocked. They saw the object, glowing like the sun, slowly descending toward the ground. It landed in an empty field among the crowd that had gathered to witness it. Immediately, military officers surrounded the object with weapons and tanks. Helen and the other scientists were taken closer to the object, even though no one really understood what it was. As the smoke cleared, they saw that the object was a larger version of the transparent ball shown at the beginning of the film. Inside it, massive storm clouds were visible. It was, in fact, an alien spaceship. A bright light came out of it, and an alien began to emerge from the light. Seeing this, many people ran away, but Helen showed courage and stepped forward toward the alien. The alien reached out a hand toward Helen, but before they could touch, a soldier from behind shot the alien, injuring him. Helen immediately shouted to stop firing and called for medical help. But then, a huge alien robot stepped out of the spaceship. Its entire body was made of metal, and red light shone from its eyes like lasers. In no time, the robot disabled all electronic systems in the city. A deafening sound followed, sharp enough to pierce everyone's ears like a needle. Then the robot moved forward to retrieve the injured alien. But the alien gave it some instructions in its own language. As soon as it heard the commands, the robot froze in place like a statue, and the city's electricity was restored. Seeing this, the military officers realized that the aliens did not mean any harm. So they took the injured alien to a military hospital for treatment. Seeing his condition worsen, Helen quickly asked them to call a surgeon. Soon, a surgeon arrived. But when he cut the alien's skin to remove the bullet, he discovered something astonishing. The surgeon says that the alien's outer skin is like whale fat, and inside that fat is a human-like body. As soon as the surgeon makes an incision in the outer layer, surprisingly, the layer begins to peel off on its own. Seeing this, the surgeon is shocked. Slowly, he removes the entire outer layer, and from inside, an alien that looks like a newborn baby appears. Everyone watching is stunned. Surprisingly, within a short time, the alien starts growing and turns into an adult human. Then, as soon as the alien opens his eyes, he begins to struggle. At that moment, Helen arrives and says to him, "Don't be afraid. We're helping you." Hearing this, the alien calms down and repeats Helen's words. Helen is shocked to hear this. Meanwhile, the government begins efforts to save the city as quickly as possible. Evacuation is underway. Seeing this, people in other countries also start fleeing from major cities, afraid that the aliens might attack their cities too. The President of the United States is sent to a secure location. In his absence, the defense minister takes over his duties. An officer tells the defense minister that they have lost contact with one of the satellites orbiting Earth. The aliens have taken control of it. What's more alarming is that not just one, but several alien ships have landed on Earth at different locations. At this time, many alien ships are also orbiting the planet. Hearing this, the defense minister becomes frightened. According to her, the most serious concern is the loss of contact with that satellite because it's no ordinary satellite. It's directly connected to America's defense system. By hacking it, the aliens have stolen all the government's secret information, and they also used it to deactivate all the missiles. Now, the aliens had access to every minor and major detail about the government. From this, the defense minister assumes that the aliens have surely come to take over Earth. To confirm this, she visits the alien who is still being treated at the military hospital. Helen and the doctor are there with him. Both of them take the defense minister to the room where the alien is kept. Surprisingly, the alien looks exactly like the mountaineer shown at the beginning of the movie. The doctor explains to the defense minister that the alien's body is made up of 3 different DNA. His brain was made from alien DNA, while his body was created using the DNA of the mountaineer seen earlier. At that time, the aliens had collected the mountaineer's DNA from his hand. Using that DNA, they built this human-like body. This is why the alien's appearance matches the mountaineer's. They did this so they could survive in Earth's atmosphere. When the alien landed on Earth, he was in a newborn state. He had a kind of bioengineered spacesuit that acted like an embryo for him. After coming out of it, he surprisingly grew from a newborn to a fully developed adult within 6 hours. Hearing about these strange features, the defense minister is stunned. Without wasting time, she goes directly to the alien. The defense minister already knows that the aliens have hacked their communication satellite and have also learned their language. So she asks him in her own language, who is he, which alien civilization he comes from, and what is the purpose of his visit. The alien replies that his name is Klaatu. He says that there are many civilizations in the universe that humans have not yet discovered. He belongs to one of those civilizations and has come to Earth as a representative of all alien civilizations. Klaatu knows that all the powerful countries on Earth are united under the United Nations. So he requests the defense minister to organize a meeting of the United Nations so he can explain the reason for his visit to all of Earth's people. But the defense minister rejects Klaatu's request and says he cannot speak to anyone except her. She asks him why he has come to their planet. Klaatu looks at her in surprise and says, "This planet does not belong to you." Hearing this, the defense minister becomes afraid that the aliens may have come to rule over them. So she orders the doctor to interrogate Klaatu using a polygraph test and to inject him with a narcotic drug as soon as possible. However, Michael didn't think it was right to interrogate Klaatu forcefully, so he opposes the defense minister's decision and refuses to do it. But then Helen steps in and says she's ready to inject Klaatu with the drug. Saying this, Helen goes to the medicine room and cleverly takes the saline water bottle along with the drug. Meanwhile, Klaatu requests the defense minister to let him go, saying he has some important work to do. But the defense minister refuses and says she won't release him until he tells her the reason for coming to Earth. Soon, Helen returns and secretly fills the injection with saline instead of the drug. She injects Klaatu and quietly whispers in his ear to escape when he gets a chance. But before Klaatu can understand what she means, the military soldiers tie him to a wheelchair and take him to the interrogation room. Security guards are posted outside the room, and inside, a doctor begins the polygraph test by setting up his equipment. The main question he asks Klaatu is why he came to Earth, but Klaatu doesn't answer any of his questions. Instead, he takes control of the polygraph machine using his powers. When the doctor touches the machine, he gets an electric shock and falls under Klaatu's control. Klaatu asks him the way out and the security code of the main door. Then, using his powers, Klaatu enters the electric wires and reaches the CCTV system. Through the cameras, he sees all the guards standing outside the room. Then he sends out a loud noise through their earpieces, making all the guards fall to the ground in pain. Meanwhile, Klaatu escapes wearing the doctor's coat. After a few minutes, when the military officers see on CCTV that Klaatu has escaped, they send out search teams to every corner of the city to find him. On the other hand, Klaatu reaches the railway station. He takes food from a vending machine without using any money, just by touching it. A young child nearby watches Klaatu in amazement. Just then, a thief snatches an old man's belongings in front of Klaatu and runs away. Seeing this, Klaatu starts thinking about both the good and bad sides of humanity. Meanwhile, he notices that his bullet wound still hasn't healed and has started bleeding again. While trying to understand this condition of the human body, Klaatu suddenly faints and collapses. At the same time, Helen is at home with her son, Jacob. The news on TV shows that the country is in chaos after the arrival of the aliens. Leaders around the world are upset with the American government for rejecting Klaatu's request to speak to the United Nations. Just then, Helen receives a call from the railway police. They tell her that one of her patients is in their custody and is saying that Helen has his medicine. Hearing this, Helen immediately understands that the patient is Klaatu. She quickly takes Jacob with her and heads to the railway station where Klaatu is waiting for her. Before anyone recognizes him, Helen gets Klaatu into her car and drives away along the route he tells her. During the ride, Klaatu asks Helen for a sample of his bio-engineered spacesuit, which Helen had taken from the lab when she went home. This was actually Klaatu's medicine. When Klaatu applies the substance to his wound, it heals instantly. Seeing this, Helen is stunned. Meanwhile, the American military sends 2 remote-controlled planes loaded with missiles to destroy the alien spaceship. But as soon as they launch the missiles, the giant alien robot, which was guarding the ship, fires lasers from its eyes and destroys the missiles. Then, it takes control of the planes and crashes them into the military tanks. Seeing this, the soldiers are shocked. On the other hand, Klaatu stops the car in front of a cafe and waits for someone. Jacob, who doesn't know the truth about Klaatu, is angry at the aliens for coming to Earth. He's also upset that the government is evacuating the city instead of fighting back. He asks Klaatu what he thinks about it. Klaatu replies that humans can't do anything about this. Jacob then says that if his father were alive, he would have killed the aliens and driven them away. Saying this, he goes to the washroom. Hearing what Jacob said about his father, Klaatu assumes that Jacob's father must have been a powerful soldier. But Helen corrects Jacob and explains that he's just a kid, and, like all kids, sees his father as a hero. She tells Klaatu that Jacob's real mother died when he was very young. Later, Helen married his father, but a year after that, he passed away too. Helen still doesn't know why Klaatu came to Earth, so she asks him again. Klaatu simply says, "I've come to save the Earth." Just then, his friend arrives, and they go inside the cafe. The man Klaatu meets is an elderly Chinese man with his grandson. This old man is actually an alien like Klaatu, who came to Earth 70 years ago. Even his grandson doesn't know that he's an alien. After living among humans for so many years, the old alien had learned about every aspect of human life, both the good and the bad. He tells Klaatu that humans have always brought destruction to Earth. Even though they know their actions are harming the planet and causing other creatures to go extinct, they still don't change. That's what makes humans dangerous. Then Klaatu finally reveals the real purpose of his visit. The aliens came to Earth not to protect it from an external enemy, but from humans themselves. Their goal was to wipe out the human race so Earth could become green and peaceful again, like before. The old man's mission on Earth is now over. Klaatu invites the old alien to return with him so that he won't need destroyed along with the human. But then the old alien adds something important. Despite how destructive humans are, they also have another side, and that is love. That love had touched even the alien's heart. However, the old alien knows that Klaatu still doesn't understand the feeling of love and won't give up on his mission, so he chooses to stay on Earth with the humans. Helen and Jacob were still unaware of Klaatu's real intention, so Helen kept driving towards the place he mentioned. Meanwhile, the police were investigating everywhere in search of Klaatu. From some local people, they come to know that Klaatu has gone into the forest with Helen and Jacob. Soon, Klaatu stops the car in a forest. He leaves Helen and Jacob in the car and walks alone into the jungle. When Klaatu doesn't return for a long time, Helen leaves Jacob in the car and goes into the forest to look for him. She stops at one spot and sees Klaatu standing on the bank of a pond. Suddenly, a small alien spaceship rises from the water. Klaatu walks toward it, and as soon as he touches the ship, energy shoots out from all the alien ships present around the world. This energy starts attracting every living creature from the earth and the sea. Helen's eyes widen in shock. Frightened, she quickly runs back to the car. Meanwhile, Jacob is confused. He thinks Helen and Klaatu like each other, and that Helen will soon call Klaatu to live with them. This leads to a small argument between the two. Jacob becomes angry and gets out of the car. Helen follows him to calm him down. Then, both Helen and Jacob see the alien spaceship moving from Earth towards space, carrying the creatures with it. In the same way, all the alien ships across different countries begin to leave Earth. People around the world celebrate, thinking they have finally gotten rid of the aliens. But in Manhattan, fear still remains. This is because the alien sphere there is much larger than the others. This increases the worry of the entire government. Meanwhile, Klaatu returns to Helen and tells her that they should go back to the city. But Helen refuses and sends Jacob into the car. She tells Klaatu that she won't take him anywhere until she tells her the real reason behind all this. Klaatu finally tells her the truth. He says that there are only a few planets in the universe where life is possible. His alien civilization is trying to protect those planets. But on Earth, humans are constantly polluting and destroying nature. If this continues, Earth will soon be destroyed. He explains that the aliens were patient for a long time, hoping that humans would change. But instead of improving, humans have continued harming the planet even more. So now, the aliens have decided to destroy the human race. Because if the Earth is destroyed, humans will die anyway. But if humans are removed, Earth can still survive. Hearing this, Helen becomes frightened. She pleads with Klaatu and says that if aliens give humans one more chance, they can change and help save the Earth. But Klaatu ignores her request. Just then, a police officer arrives in search of Klaatu. He first separates Helen and Jacob from him. Then, he politely asks Klaatu to place both hands on the police car. Klaatu does as told, but in the next second, he hits the officer hard with the car, breaking all his bones. Jacob gets terrified seeing the officer in pain and angrily shouts at Klaatu. But then Klaatu applies his medicine on the officer and uses energy from the car to heal him. Seeing this act of kindness, a spark of goodness is visible in Klaatu. Once again, Helen requests him to spare humanity. Klaatu replies that he had already tried to speak with the leaders of the world, but the defense minister had rejected his proposal. Helen tells Klaatu that she doesn't consider those people as her leaders. Saying this, she takes Klaatu to meet Professor Barnhart, hoping he could help change Klaatu's views about humanity. Professor Barnhart was a Nobel Prize winner known for his research on biological altruism. Helen asks Jacob to rest in a room while she waits for the professor in the living room with Klaatu. Then Klaatu notices an equation written on the professor's blackboard, an equation that no one in the world had been able to solve. But Klaatu solves it within moments. Just then, the professor arrives and is shocked to see the equation solved. He immediately understands that Klaatu is not an ordinary human, but the same alien the American government is searching for. The The professor tells Klaatu that if the alien civilization is so advanced, then surely they must have some way to help humans become more responsible toward Earth. Klaatu replies that in the past, their civilization was also not much different from humans. But when they were on the verge of destroying their own sun, they were forced to change, and over time, they developed their civilization accordingly. But humans, he says, are different. They never want to change. They always think only of their own benefit. So, expecting them to be dedicated to Earth is pointless. On this, the professor explains that every civilization changes only when it reaches the edge of destruction, just like Klaatu's civilization once did. So, Klaatu should give humans the same chance to change. Hearing this, Klaatu falls silent and begins to think deeply. But at that very moment, the news comes on TV that Klaatu is a danger to Earth and the entire American government is looking for him. Seeing this, Jacob secretly calls the police and tells them where they are. Within moments, military helicopters arrive at the professor's house, searching for Klaatu. Hearing the sound of helicopters, Helen grabs Jacob and runs into the nearby forest with Klaatu. But Jacob calls out to the soldiers, which helps them locate their position. A soldier catches Helen and takes her away, while 2 helicopters continue searching for Klaatu. Before the helicopters can capture him, Klaatu destroys them with his powers. Jacob gets scared seeing this and starts running away from Klaatu. While running, he slips near a bridge and is about to fall, but Klaatu catches and saves him. Seeing this act, Jacob realizes that Klaatu is not evil, and is, in fact, a good alien. After this, Klaatu and Jacob leave for the city. Meanwhile, the military had discovered that the alien robot doesn't attack unless provoked. So they carefully restrain it and transport it through an underground tunnel to the Mount Weather facility, a special emergency operations center of the US government. There, the military tries to break the robot's body using a powerful drill. But the robot's body is so strong that even the drill can't damage it. Instead, the drill itself breaks. A mechanic is sent into the chamber to repair the machine. Then we see the robot releasing some tiny metal insects from its body. These insects begin to eat the drill machine. In the very next moment, they enter the mechanic's body as well. The mechanic begins to suffer in pain. But instead of rescuing him, the security officer sets fire to the chamber. However, the fire doesn't harm the robot at all. In no time, the robot transforms into countless metal insects. These insects break through the glass chamber, kill all the humans present, and erase their existence. After that, they break the heavy iron door and escape through the underground tunnel. As the insects come out, the military tries to stop them using guns and tanks, but their weapons have no effect. These insects fly in the sky like a giant swarm of bees, destroying all humans and everything built by them. Whatever came in their path would turn into more insects, rapidly increasing their numbers. The insects quickly spread across the entire Earth, emerging from every corner of the world to destroy the human race. Stopping them now had become impossible. When this news reaches the defense minister, she starts sweating, because they had completely failed to protect the human race from the aliens. However, in the meantime, Helen had already told the defense minister that she could convince Klaatu and save humanity. The defense minister had no other option but to agree with Helen. She sends Helen to talk to Klaatu, and Michael also supports her in this mission. On the other hand, Jacob and Klaatu reach home. When Jacob picks up the phone to call Helen, the line keeps disconnecting. Then Klaatu uses his power to fix the phone and hands it to Jacob. Jacob calls Helen, and they decide to meet at a special place. The place was a cemetery, where Jacob's father was also buried. Jacob had chosen this place, hoping Klaatu could bring his father back to life, as he had seen Klaatu revive a policeman before. But Klaatu tells him that it's not possible. In this world, no one truly dies. They only transform from one state to another. Hearing this, Jacob becomes emotional. Meanwhile, Helen and Michael reach the cemetery. Helen hugs Jacob and tells him that he's not alone. She will always be with him. At the same time, Jacob realizes his mistake and finally accepts Helen as his mother. Seeing this moment of love, Klaatu also understands the true meaning of love and agrees to give humanity another chance. But to do this, he needs to return to his ship. Michael helps him and takes Klaatu in his car. On the other side, the defense minister receives a secret order from the president and immediately takes action. While Michael is taking Klaatu out of the city, they come across a checkpoint. Michael breaks through the checkpoint and drives away. Military vehicles begin chasing them, but soon the soldiers receive an order from their superiors to stop the pursuit, so they pull back. But then Helen notices something strange. The entire road is empty, and there's no security anywhere. She begins to feel something is wrong. She asks Michael to stop the car. Before Michael can stop, the defense minister gives the order to attack the alien ship, following the president's instructions. Several fighter jets begin bombing the ship and its surrounding area. Michael's car had already reached close to the alien ship, causing it to overturn, and Michael died on the spot. At the same time, the swarm of insects arrives there too. Seeing them, Klaatu quickly pulls Helen and Jacob under a bridge for protection. But by then, some of the insects enter Helen and Jacob's bodies and start pushing them towards death. Seeing this, Helen begs Klaatu to save Jacob. Klaatu thinks for a moment, and then decides to save them. He pulls all the insects out of their bodies and absorbs them into himself. After that, Klaatu sacrifices himself. He reaches the alien ship with the swarm of insects, and by touching the ship, he releases an energy pulse. This energy destroys all the insects instantly, but Klaatu also vanishes with them. The gift of life that Klaatu gave humanity came at a cost. All electricity and modern technology on Earth stopped working, and this time, humans didn't even try to get it back. They were forced to live in harmony with nature. With this silent warning, the alien ship leaves Earth, and the film ends here. Friends, if you liked this video and got lost in the story while watching, please subscribe to support us, so we can keep bringing you more videos like this. Thanks for watching.